Welcome, curious souls, to the Macabre Emporium, your sanctuary for the unusual, the mysterious, and the appalling.
Step through our cryptic doorway into a world where secrets whisper and enigmas come to life.
I'm David.
And I'm Sarah.
Together, we're your custodians of the macabre, guiding you through tales that defy the ordinary.
Discover the untold stories, from lesser-known cases of true crime to the bizarre events that captivate us.
Join us on a journey to the shadows where the mainstream fades and the extraordinary beckons.
So whether you seek the bizarre, the eerie, or the chillingly obscure,
you're in for a treat here at Macabre Emporium.
Welcome back to Macabre Emporium. This is episode 46.
And if this is your first time joining us, welcome.
Welcome.
So, 2 weeks ago, we went and saw Avatar up in Flint, Michigan, and we survived. We came back alive.
We did. That was a good show.
Yeah, even though that's really on the outskirts, so no real danger. From what we can see.
Yeah.
At least from
it's
what
pretty
I've
sketchy
seen,
down there.
From what I've seen, there's like hardly anything there. I mean, there's Dort Mall.
Yeah, which is sketchy in its own right.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't even open. There's like nobody out there.
Yeah.
So, but Avatar puts on one hell of a fucking show. Keep you entertained from start to finish.
They do that. They do that.
Yeah. Well, the fact that they were using a gasoline can
as their water bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the whole section where the balloon animal.
Yeah, that was very strange.
And was not expecting a trombone solo either in the middle of this.
Basically right above
show.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cute.
So next time we go, we're going to try and slap a Macabre Emporium sticker on one pole in there, and hopefully it lasts for a while before someone else sticks something over top of it.
Yeah, we need to get we need to get our printer working for one, because that has to be used first, and then the Cricut gets used. So we gotta get some ink, and then we'll be good to go.
And of course, then I did, some more of that guerrilla marketing after you thought about it, and I tried to,
yeah,
lack of term, airdrop or RSS feed to anybody that had their Samsung share link open on their phone. Got maybe 1-2 people, I think, only really showed up.
Yeah.
I might have to try it again at a much bigger show.
Yes. And
you at the same time.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Before the show starts, you go opposite ends of the building.
Haha.
There we go. So, tomorrow is Thanksgiving.
Yay!
So, once again, we are bringing you Thanksgiving-related stories. I'm sure Sarah's got true crime.
I do not have true crime.
What? I think you're lying.
I went in a completely different direction, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Yeah, right.
I did.
No, you didn't.
You'll find out.
Okay, so what is it?
True crime.
Shocker, yeah. I know better.
You don't know nothing.
Right.
Let me guess. You did history.
No, it's a tutorial on underwater, not basket weaving, but cornucopia weaving. Because of,
cornucopia weaving.
Yeah, because tomorrow's Thanksgiving, so I'm giving a tutorial on underwater cornucopia weaving instead of basket weaving this time around.
Sweet.
But I figured that needed its own separate episode, so I'm going to do history on Ragamuffin Day.
Ragamuffin Day, which I've never ever heard of.
I didn't either.
So I'm intrigued to see what it is. Because you said it kind of ties into Halloween and Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see.
The only problem is that these two if Ragamuffin Day ever makes a comeback, then basically Christmas can almost take over.
Why? Well, explain it after you told the story how Christmas would take over.
All right.
Okay.
So you ready to get started then?
I is.
All right, let's go.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Ms. Legosi, are you ready? Yep, you're just going to be a potato on the table.
Yes, motherfucker. That was Legosi.
Yeah, and of course Salem's still asleep behind us on a shelf after I stuck a pillow over top of him.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, he allowed it.
It was just to keep him warm, not to keep him in a forever nap. Just to clear that up.
Yes, he's like the only cat that I've ever seen that always looks so pissed off when he wakes up. It's the expression on his face that he is pissed off like you woke him up.
How dare you?
Yeah, pretty much. And you can actually cover him up with a blanket and he'll stay there. And that's what I do with a pillow. And he's back asleep still on the shelf behind me.
Yeah.
But anyhow, let's get going because we're getting off topic here.
Yes. Today I'm going to go over Omaima Nelson and how Thanksgiving went for her.
Okay.
There's no real backstory on her. No cool intro. So we're just going to dig in with some bullshit.
All right.
Omaima Ari Nelson was born in southern Egypt near Cairo in 1968. She grew up in an excessively abusive household. Her father was very sexually twisted. He had sexually abused his wife as well as Omaima and her siblings. Yeah, I know. Fucked up, ain't it, Ginge? I know. At the age of 7, Omaima's father forced female genital mutilation on her. Do you know what that is?
I think that's a very common thing that goes on over there.
But do you know what
Not exactly.
Okay.
Like, I've heard of it mentioned, like, on Law and Order, I think, one time when you were watching it. Or some other show like that, but I don't remember exactly off the top of my head.
Okay, so to explain it to you and other people that may not know what it is, basically it's the removal of a female's clitoris, the clitoral hood, and the inner labia. All of that's done without anesthesia of any kind. No aspirin or ibuprofen beforehand to kind of dull it, even though it wouldn't dull it.
Yeah, I don't think ibuprofen's going to dull that pain.
Right, they get nothing. And this happened to her at the age of 7. So, yeah, like I said, all done without anesthesia. So you know that they feel every single cut, every pull, every stitch that happens, because after they cut all of that away, they stitch you from top to bottom. Yeah. This causes numerous complications throughout the rest of the person's life, from chronic infections that can cause, like cysts. It can lead to death if the infection gets bad enough. PTSD, fatal bleeding, shock, urinary issues, chronic pain, fertility issues, and painful sex literally every time. They would never get pleasure.
Yeah.
Because that part was cut away.
Yeah.
If a woman that had gone FGM, I'm just going to shorten it, FGM actually became pregnant, childbirth would require that wound to be cut back open to give room for the baby to come out. And then she would be sewn back shut again. Again, leading to more infections and complications. But it's just completely unfathomable shit to happen. But can you imagine, like, how traumatic that is at 7 years old?
Right. It's like, do you even say why they do even do practice this? I think they're trying to get it to stop, actually.
It's to, yeah, I read somewhere that it was to symbolize them going into womanhood. Yeah, I don't know. You're taking part of their womanhood away. But yeah, it's like their transition into womanhood.
Sure, okay.
At the age of 7. They're still fucking babies. Anyways, this still happens to this day in Somalia, Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia. So, I mean, don't live there and have a girl child. Anyways, after that happened to her, which was her father's doing, he forced that on her. Omaima's mother kind of woke up and left her husband and took off to a city that was nicknamed City of the Dead. It was just a really seedy, like, Skid Row area. The city wasn't huge, but it housed nearly 1 million people back in the 1970s. Which is a lot of people. Homeless people roamed the streets, drug dealers and drug addicts flooded the town. It just wasn't a safe area, especially for children. At the age of 18, Omaima decided that she no longer wanted to be in Egypt, more specifically in the slums. So she saved enough money to buy herself a one-way ticket to the United States. She chose California as her destination and took flight without ever looking back at where she came from. When she got settled in, she found work as a nanny as well as a maid at another time, and then she took up modeling. Due to her exotic beauty, she had men flocking to her. While she was still the age of 18, she met and fell in love with an oil worker, and they quickly got married and moved to Texas. However, the marriage dissolved after about a month, but I wasn't able to find out exactly what happened. It didn't take her long to move on. She decided to quit modeling and start bar hopping and was actively looking for a sugar daddy type, an older man with money. She had no connections in the U.S., really nothing to call her own except the little that she was able to bring with her when she came from Egypt. So the thought of her having a guy with cash really just kind of had her, seeing money signs. This idea of the sugar daddy and the cash, cars, and lifestyle that she could get out of them kind of tripped something in her brain, and she might have gone a little crazy.
Okay.
Instead of actually dating these men, she decided she would just have one-night stands instead. But this wasn't going to be a prostitute type of situation where she would sleep on them, get money, and go. Omaima would get these men to a hotel, tie them up, and then shove a revolver in their face and force their money out of them. And then she'd leave. In 1991, the then 23-year-old Omaima was back in California. She was living in Orange County and happened to walk into a bar and stumble upon a man named William Nelson, who went by Bill, so that's just what I'm going to call him from here on out. Bill was 56 years old at the time. 33 years older than Omaima, but they hit it off. He had formerly lived in Texas, as did she, so they kind of had that in common. He was a former pilot, but was convicted of smuggling marijuana in from Mexico in 1984. So, that ended that job for him pretty quickly.
Oh, I'm sure.
It also landed him 4 years in federal prison. After that, he started working at a mortgage company and made his way to California. Omaima stated later on in life that she felt that dating older men would give her more stability, that they would be able to treat her better than men her own age, since they were established and had their finances in order.
Yeah.
And Bill definitely did. He had his own place, a really nice apartment, a sporty little red Corvette. Omaima saw that and again, saw the dollar signs. After their initial meeting, they spent the next month side by side and on a whim decided to get married. They had an Egyptian priest marry them over the phone in their then shared apartment. After that, they went to the Justice of the Peace and had it legalized in the U.S. The newly married couple decided to take their honeymoon in the Corvette. They drove from California to Texas and Arkansas. Bill introduced Omaima to his family at the different stops they made along the way. At one of the family members' homes they stopped at, they all went horseback riding. And while riding, Omaima took a really nasty spill off of the horse that she was on. Like, his family rallied around and was like, hey, we really think that you need to go and get seen. Mm-hmm. 'Cause that looked real fucking bad.
Oh, I'm sure.
But she pulled herself up off the ground, popped an aspirin, drank 2 shots of vodka, and she's like, I'm good. So they all were like, it's one tough chick right there.
Right.
They were very impressed by her. I don't know why. Once the honeymoon was over, they headed back to their home in Costa Mesa, California, and had a conversation about the upcoming holiday, and wanted to make it a special one, as it would be their first holiday together, and as a married couple. Bill picked up the phone and called his daughter Margaret, and let her know that he and his new wife would be cooking Thanksgiving dinner this year, and that he would love to have her there. Margaret declined the invitation, not knowing that this would be the last time she would ever hear from her father. December 1st, 1991, things would take a turn for the worse. A man named Jose Escobar woke up to what sounded like someone banging on his front door. Instead of just being an idiot and walking to the front door in the middle of the night, he went and peeped out the front window. He didn't see anybody, but he saw a red Corvette sitting in his driveway. He didn't know who it was, so he just went back to bed. The next afternoon, around 1, Jose was home and watched the same red Corvette from the previous night return and pull into his driveway. And again, knocking on the door. This time he answered it, being in daylight. And he opened the door and was kind of like, what the fuck? Because there in front of him stood a bloody and crying Omaima. He didn't know her very well. They weren't friends, but they had been acquaintances, and she surely felt comfortable enough coming to him in this condition. He let Omaima in, and she began telling Jose about how Bill had tried to rape her because she had refused him, and that he then turned violent. He attacked her, and the only way she could defend herself was to grab the closest thing to her and beat him with it. That thing was a lamp, and she didn't just beat him. She beat him to death.
Whoops.
Whoops. That was one hit too many. Even she said, wow! While she was still in verbal diarrhea mode, she let Jose know that she had dismembered Bill and put him in a bunch of garbage bags.
Was not expecting that next.
Yeah. That she needed him to help her dispose of the bags. She also needed his truck to do so. In return for his help and his silence, she would give him $75,000 and 2 motorcycles. Jose thought about it and agreed to help Omaima. He told her to head back to her apartment and he would go get his truck and meet her there, but he lied.
He went straight to the cops.
As soon as Omaima got in Bill's Corvette and drove off, Jose picked up the phone and called 911.
Close enough.
He told them the entire conversation that he had just had and where they could find Omaima. Needless to say, Jose never showed up to help dispose of Bill's body. But you know who did show up?
The police.
Yes. When the police arrived, they found little Miss Omaima sitting in the driver's seat of the red Corvette. They immediately questioned her, but she denied every allegation thrown her way, including even speaking to Jose in the first place. She said Bill was out of town in Florida on a business trip. She cooperated, or at least seemingly cooperated, but her cooperation was very weird and very contradictory. So it was a little fishy from the start. The officer speaking with Omaima noticed a suitcase in the back seat of the car, and Omaima gave him permission to look inside. What the officer found shocked him.
It was Bill's head.
It was full of human organs, most notably a pair of lungs with black spots on them, which means whoever they belonged to
Was a smoker.
was a smoker. And Bill was a smoker. But there was no way of knowing if it was Bill or not, because, you don't know who... Take my lungs out, you're not going to know what those belong to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? But of course, Omaima had her way out of that too, stating that those belonged to someone that Bill had killed. Couldn't give a name or a reason why Bill had killed this person, of course. On December 2nd, 1991, Omaima was arrested on suspicion of murder. I mean, I don't know why. She talked her way out of everything. She was super smart that way.
Yeah, considering she said that he was in Florida, but yet there's this suitcase full of warm organ body parts.
Well, we don't know if they were warm.
It's up to 3 to 4 hours before the body actually loses heat. But anyhow, because on Can You Doubt they actually Googled it on an episode.
Oh. But the police still had to enter the apartment and investigate, so it was a waiting game at this point for everybody. The police returned with that search warrant to search the Nelsons' apartment. So we might have thought that the blackened lungs in a bag in the backseat was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Gets much worse. Much worse. When the police entered the apartment, the smell of blood was pungent, so they already knew something gnarly had taken place there.
Right.
They just weren't sure of what yet. They had a pretty good idea. They saw a bunch of suitcases lying around, not really like suitcase, but more like duffel bag type.
Right.
Laying around, and they didn't really think anything of it, but they decided to look in them and found that all of them had garbage bags in them. And they opened all those garbage bags, and it's just different body parts in all of them. But did Bill do that too? To whoever this person is?
Of course, yeah.
Gosh, fucking Bill.
No, Bill's head is one of these bags.
Well, yeah. So they opened each of the bags, found body parts or innards in each one, but they were all stuffed like a Thanksgiving turkey, for sure.
Yeah.
The next area the officers searched was the bedroom. Upon entering, it looked like a struggle had definitely ensued. The mattress itself was wet. They couldn't tell there was red sheets on. They pulled them back. The entire mattress was soaked from top to bottom, all the way through the mattress with blood. The 4 bedposts had been broken, like there had been, like I said, a struggle. Like somebody being pushed around, thrown into the bed, onto the bed, trying to pull themselves off a bed, something. The lamp that Omaima had told Jose she used in self-defense, well, that was there too. Covered in blood, hair, fingerprints, and tissue. Not like paper tissue.
Yeah.
People tissue.
Right. I assume that's what you meant,
Yeah.
not paper tissue. Or as you said, people tissue.
People tissue. They moved on to the bathroom after they were done looking over the bedroom. I assume when you take the role of an officer that you're kind of given heads up like, hey, you can walk into some heinous shit. I would assume, you go in kind of knowing that you're going to see shit that you
Right.
probably don't want to see.
Right. When, that's one of the when I was still at the department, For remember correctly on the first day, it's not like you see on TV.
Yeah.
You run more medical calls than you do fires, really.
Yeah.
When you're volunteering, for the most part, depending on the area.
Unfortunately for these police officers, the shit that they're about to walk into in this bathroom is the stuff of nightmares.
Right.
They open the bathroom door, and they turn on the light, and the first thing they see is the floor just absolutely covered in blood.
Good Lord, how much blood did this man have in his body?
Apparently enough.
Apparently a whole lot. Since he's soaked the complete mattress, and now the bathroom's
Well,
all covered.
it's not really hard to I wouldn't think it would be hard to cover a floor, because if you step in blood and you take steps, it's going to cover spots on the floor.
Right, I don't know why I'm thinking of it's covered as in it's squishy.
Oh, no. Yeah, so the floor's covered in blood. What the fuck? The floor is covered in blood. And then they looked up.
And there's Bill's head on the ceiling fan.
They found Bill's hollow torso hanging from the ceiling.
Okay, we're getting closer. I might get it right by the end of this.
He had also been skinned.
Well, all right then. Did not see that one coming.
Whether he was skinned before or after he died, or before or after he was hung there, don't know.
Has Ed Gein entered the chat on this whole fucking thing, basically?
It gets worse. The kitchen was the next area, and this room wasn't any better than the others. The officers had found a frying pan on the stove with pieces of turkey frying in oil, along with 2 severed hands in the pan.
So you can get some finger food?
Ooh. They were facing palm down. They looked for more evidence. They went to the trash can. They found pieces of discarded turkey meat in there, along with cranberry sauce and human flesh. They kept looking and opened the refrigerator, and they found nothing. They checked the freezer and found nothing suspicious there. Just your normal frozen meats, frozen vegetables. They were interested in this, like, ball of aluminum foil that they had, or that she had in the freezer. Mm-hmm. And they opened it, and they found Bill's head.
Found it. I finally found it.
Which had also been deep fried. And all of this happened 3 days prior on Thanksgiving Day in 1991.
All right, then.
Right. Goddamn, that's a meal I would love to never go to.
Unlike your sister.
During Bill's autopsy, the medical examiners were able to tell via ligature marks on his ankles that he had been tied up. Tightly tied up. They were not able to tell if his wrists had been tied up due to the damage from her hacking his hands off and them being fried. Bill's actual cause of death wound up being from 25 different head wounds.
Okay, so that's still consistent with her story here.
She had stabbed him with scissors, hit him with a clothing iron, and then bludgeoned him to finish him off with that lamp. Now, Omaima did have wounds too, and she was able to be checked out as well. And when she was checked out, the doctors that were seeing her were in agreement that her wounds were self-inflicted. Not like her punching herself in the face, kind of self-inflicted.
They're defensive wounds.
No.
I swear that's what you just said. I don't know, maybe I'm just stupid, but continue.
No, so they were self-inflicted, like I said, but not like her hitting herself, but like the force that she had to use to get the scissors, like, and the knives into his bones to hack him up. Mm-hmm. She also had to use that force to pull them back out.
Oh, so she was smacking herself in the face.
Correct. That's why they said self-inflicted. It wasn't anything he did to her. She did it to herself on accident. Right. But still did it to herself.
Still don't understand why I thought you were fucking trying to say defensive wounds. I was like,
no.
Here, I'm just gonna make shit up now while we go.
Nope. So yeah, she kept hitting herself in the face when she'd have to pull the knife or whatever she was using to hack him up out of his bone.
The first couple times she'd remember to get her face out of the fucking way.
Well, you'd think she wouldn't do the shit she did, but hey, here we are. Now that they had this incredible mountain of evidence against Omaima, it was time to get her side of the story. She was already being held in custody, but now they wanted a confession. Omaima tried to talk her way out of the heinous shit that she did by defending what she did. Are you ready for some crazy?
Well, I mean, to a point, she probably could have got away with self-defense, but stabbing him 25 times with a fucking pair of scissors, and then finishing him off with a fucking lamp.
And then hacking up his body, yada, yada, yada. All the extra shit she did. Yeah. Like, that's not self-defense. Once he's dead, there's nothing to fucking defend yourself against.
There's a point. If you would have had a moment of clarity and stopped, she could have probably been okay. But I'm still thinking this whole rape thing was fucking bullshit at this point. But anyway, I'm sure we're about to find out.
She said that Bill was an abusive man who repeatedly raped her and beat her, yet no neighbors ever heard fighting or thumping coming from their apartment. She also claimed that she had no memory of killing Bill, and that the demons inside of her made her do it.
Sure, okay.
Just the nod of your head, you're like, oh, this bitch is crazy. And she is.
That's what I tried to go at that angle at the gas station the other day when that guy tried to come at me with that fucking pamphlet. Like, are you sure you want to go to hell? Yeah, that's where all the fun people are. But anyway.
She said she had a vision of two blood-soaked women repeatedly telling her to kill him. So she did.
Right, okay.
She also tried to explain away the ligature marks on Mill's ankles by saying that he liked kinky sex and that he consented to being tied up for foreplay. I don't know about you, but there's no type of foreplay that I have ever enjoyed where I'm tied up and fucking bludgeoned to death.
No.
You know? That's... I mean, to each their own, but fuck my life.
I'm not going to yuck somebody else's yum, but still, fuck that.
Like, No
Hey,
thanks.
Baby, tie me up and smack me in the face with a tire iron from a 1985
Right.
Honda Civic.
And I'd never consent to floor play where my fucking head got deep fried either.
Well,
So
you can't at that point anymore.
I don't know that he's the one with the kink. Anyways, investigators found that the way she had tied Bill up was suspicious. It was done with such precision, it made them wonder if she had done this before. So they got the idea to dig into her past and see if they could find anything, while continuing to investigate everything in the apartment with a fine-tooth comb. Fine-tooth comb. That's what I was going to say. Anyways, while digging through Omaima's history, they found a man by the name of Robert Hansen. He was a former boyfriend of hers, and he let the officers know that he ended his relationship with her after a night where she tied him up, put a revolver to his face, and demanded money from him in November of 1990. Does that sound familiar?
A little bit.
Like when she used to do her one-night stands, she carried doing that shit to her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And then ultimately her husband, who met his demise at her hands. Robert said he never went to the police about it because, basically, his own pride. He felt it would make him less of a man, and he didn't want to be seen as a victim, so he just kept it to himself.
Yeah, and that's a big problem with a lot of men that are victims of crimes like this because they don't want to have their pride hurt or anything.
Yeah.
But it's time to stop doing that shit, guys. Something's wrong. Fucking say something.
Word. All remnants of Bill were gathered and weighed and cross-referenced with his newly renewed driver's license. The weight... God damn it.
Lugosi's tail keeps getting in her line of sight, so...
The weight gathered and the weight on his license were starkly different. Like 100 pounds different.
Yeah.
So where did the rest of Bill go?
In the trash can, obviously, at this point.
And the frying pan and all the suitcases. But like I said, they gathered everything. Every little piece. Every tiny morsel.
Right.
They gathered and put them all together and weighed him. And it's still 100 pounds difference.
Well, did they factor in, reduction when cooking him down?
I'm sure, but she didn't cook all of him, just his hands and his head.
Right.
That's not going to be 100 pounds difference.
Because he should probably eat the rest of them, but that's a whole lot of man to be eating if he's 100 pounds lighter than he needs to be.
Neighbors claimed that they had heard the garbage disposal going on and off a few times. This was substantiated as there was blood and tissue found in the drain, but the amount of off and on time during the day that the neighbors said that they could hear the disposal going off would not have been enough time to dispose of 100 pounds of flesh and bone.
Right.
So where else did it go?
Because she made some man-wich. Because man-wich is a meal. Or however the slang went from the commercial.
The fuck?
A sandwich is a sandwich, but a manwich is a meal.
On December 2nd, 1992, Omaima went to trial for the murder of her husband, Bill Nelson. She went on the stand and admitted to killing him, dismembering him to make it easier to dispose of his body. She admitted to frying his hands to remove his fingerprints so they couldn't be identified. And she admitted to castrating him out of spite. She gave no explanation as to why she deep-fried his head. Omaima said that she went into a trance-like state and spent 12 hours killing Bill and hacking him into pieces to make his disposal easier. Omaima had dressed herself in a red dress, red high heels, and put on red lipstick as part of a ritual the night that she killed Bill. She said that she was a descendant of ancient Egyptians and that Sekhmet communicated with her and acted out on her behalf. Sekhmet was a warrior goddess with some severe bloodlust. She had the head of a lioness and dressed solely in the color of blood, red. Her psychiatrist, Dr. David Scheffner,
She's 100% wackadoodle. Stamp.
Stamp. Took the stand and told the courtroom how Omaima was deeply disturbed and psychotic. Some new details had emerged that had not been known to anyone beyond himself and Omaima because, doctor-patient confidentiality.
Right.
You see, while she was in session with Dr. David, she let him know that she did cook parts of her husband along with the turkey. But we already knew that. What we didn't know was that she had cooked and ate his ribs. In her very own words, on the stand, Dr. David verbatim wrote down what she said about it.
Okay.
So these are her own words to her doctor, her psychiatrist. She said, I did his ribs just like in a restaurant. It was so sweet. I only ate the parts with muscles, particularly thighs and calves, which was my favorite. I made a very tasty stew with the tongue, and I used the eyes to make a nutritious and healthy soup. It was also rumored at that time that Omaima was preparing Bill for Thanksgiving dinner with him as the main course, and that had any of his family showed up to eat Thanksgiving dinner, they would have been eating Bill.
I'm sure they would have left once they would have seen all the blood all over the fucking place.
Omaima was convicted of second-degree murder on January 12th, 1993. She was also charged with assault, false imprisonment, and robbery of a former boyfriend, which I assume is Robert Hansen, since he actually came forward at that point.
Right.
She was given 28 years to life in prison. She became eligible for parole in 2006, but was denied because she was found to be unpredictable and a threat to society.
I can only imagine why.
No shit. She had another parole hearing in 2011, and this time, Bill's daughter Margaret showed up. Omaima apologized for murdering and mutilating Bill, but followed that up with it was a life or death situation for her, and she would have been dead if she hadn't killed him, so she was sorry he was dead, but she was happy that she was alive. What the fuck?
And again, you should have known when to fucking stop.
Margaret had actually prepared something to say at this particular court or parole hearing, and it was definitely an impact statement. She had started off by saying something about how the daughter that she had just given birth to 8 weeks prior will never get to meet and do things with her grandfather because his life was taken. Margaret is quoted as saying, "I don't know the adequate punishment for a murderer who doesn't even leave a family a body to mourn over, but I do know that you don't let her out." And at this hearing, Omaima was again denied parole, thankfully. Omaima remarried while she was still in prison in the 1990s. The man she married was well into his 70s at this point.
Of course.
Because what?
Of course, you gotta go after that sugar daddy money.
All right. They were allowed 3 conjugal visits. Apparently, one of them was near the kitchen where knives of all sizes and types just laid out in the open. He mentioned how he had never once felt threatened by her, even with all the weaponry laying around. He has since passed away, but he did leave Omaima a huge chunk of money.
Which makes, doesn't do her any good being in fucking prison.
Correct.
Or at least I'm assuming she's still in prison.
Omaima Nelson is being held at the Central California's Women Facility in Chowchilla, California. She will be eligible for parole again when she is 58 years old, which will be in 2026. So, United Statesmen, if you ever see someone that looks like her during or after the year 2026, maybe just avoid her at all costs unless you wish to be Miss Hannibal Lecter's next holiday meal of liver and fava beans.
And a nice Chianti.
Yeah.
You forgot that part.
I didn't add it because I didn't want to.
Or, be turned into Manwich because, like I said earlier, because Manwich is a male. Or whatever.
But yeah, she has been compared to Hannibal Lecter.
No, I'm sure.
Numerous times.
Well, I'm sure after eating that much of a body, you're going to get that comparison or, to Jeffrey Dahmer, the people Dahmer.
Yeah. I had forgot to add in there, too, that when she was on the stand, she denied ever telling her doctor that she ate him.
Yeah, okay, because a medical professional is going to fucking lie.
They did record her conversations with the doctor. So
he's pulling a little tape recorder out of his pocket and click.
Right.
Is that you? That's you, right?
No, that's not me. That's my evil twin.
Yeah, okay.
It's the bloodied ladies in red.
Right.
But yeah, that's Omaima Nelson.
Because I was just out of curiosity was like, wonder what kind of true crime Thanksgiving stories there are out there. And boom, she was the very first thing, and you happen to look up at the right time, and you're like, don't read that one. I'm planning on doing that one for this week. She's been on my list. I had her and the other story, the story that I did last year for Thanksgiving, and I chose that one. Yeah.
And this one I saved for this year. But yeah, as soon as I saw the picture, I was like, don't read it! Don't read it!
Like, all I was doing was, like, skimming, like, names and shit just to see if I heard anything.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Had you heard of her before?
No, I did not.
Yeah, she's fucking insane, dude.
There's a lot of true crime stuff I haven't heard of.
Yeah.
So you ready to hear about Ragamuffin Day?
I am ready.
And the parades they had?
I am ready.
All right. So last year, I brought everyone probably one of the most fun topics for me to at least to research, and that was the Macy's parade and its balloons. Mm-hmm. And somewhere in the middle of all that, I had heard something about this thing called Ragamuffin Day, and I was like, I'll save that for another episode another day. So here we are.
Another day.
Another day. But in that episode, we all learned that they used to release the balloons at the end, causing a giant pig to stalk the Empire State Building for about an hour before it finally deflated. And also that Snoopy appeared in the Macy's parade more than any other character that's ever been on the Macy's parade. Mm-hmm. And that also the parade has only ever been canceled one time in its entire history. Do you remember when that was?
No.
During World War II.
Oh, yeah, yep, that's right. Just making sure you remember.
Yeah, okay, because I have the script and I can go back and look at it. Like I did. They pull some little fun facts out of that episode.
Yeah.
For a kind of refresher. Before we even get to the Thanksgiving Day parades, the National Dog Show, or the tradition with your dad, which is watching the Detroit Lions lose on Thanksgiving Day, which I've never heard anybody in my life cheer for a team to fucking lose on television other than your dad.
Yep.
The city of New York had a tradition known as Ragamuffin Day.
Okay.
Thanksgiving Day has always been accredited to Abraham Lincoln in 1863 after a woman by the name of Sarah Josepha Hale, the editor of a magazine that went by the name of Godey's Lady Book, because I cannot find a pronunciation for that name. Mm-hmm. And she was the author of a very tiny, not significant nursery rhyme known as Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Oh, that little old thing?
Yeah.
Huh.
She had urged President Lincoln to make Thanksgiving Day a national holiday, and in a letter she explained to him, "You may have observed that for some years past, there has been an increasing interest felt in our land to have Thanksgiving held on the same day in all the states. It now needs national recognition and an authoritative fixation only to become permanently an American custom and institution." And on October 3rd, 1863, President Lincoln responded to her request, unlike other presidents before him, like George Washington, which had it done exactly 74 years before in 1789, about creating Thanksgiving Day. He would proclaim that the last Thursday in November was to be Thanksgiving Day in praise, is what it was. And it's been now shortened to Thanksgiving Day. Mm-hmm. According to the National Park Service's website, the Battle of Gettysburg, where 51,000 Americans, Union and Confederate soldiers alike, lost their lives, and this being a victory for the Union would play a big role in his proclamation for a national day of Thanksgiving. My first thoughts was to read part of his proclamation, but after seeing how long it was, I felt like it would be one of those spots people start glazing over. So by 1870, with this new holiday, the children of New York City would get an extra day off school, or maybe work, since 1 out of 8 children in the city of New York was part of the labor force. And these children would use Thanksgiving Day to cut loose, as you could say, into a precursor to Halloween and Mischief Night known as Ragamuffin Day.
So wait, is Ragamuffin Devil's Night?
Kind of, because even at this time, this was all on the same day, because trick-or-treating that we know it now doesn't even exist yet. That doesn't happen until the 1930s, which I covered that in the Halloween bonus episode.
Yeah, I'm asking specifically if Ragamuffin Day is Devil's Night.
No. This would happen all during the day and then the night of Thanksgiving Day.
Okay.
A few sources said that Ragamuffin Day generally took place in Irish-dominant neighborhoods of New York City. In the earlier days of this holiday, during the morning hours, while Thanksgiving dinner was being prepared, the children would dress as hobos, sew torn ratty clothes, dirt on their faces, etc. Like, whatever pops in your head when you think of hobo.
Yeah.
That's how these kids overdress giant clothes like their parents' clothes, basically.
Okay.
As I said, their clothes were baggy and oversized, so they either borrowed these clothes from their parents or hard borrowed by other means.
Hard borrowed.
Or steal, if you want me to be correct about it.
Yeah.
Then these children would go door to door or ask anyone on the streets anything for Thanksgiving, in hopes of nuts, candies, fruits and vegetables, pennies, trinkets, etc., whatever thing they can get just by asking anything for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But at night, This is where our story of these children become more aggressive in asking for their treats and lighting bonfires. Some of these children were as young as 5 years old.
Ballsy little shit,
Yeah.
the little shits.
But there would also be gunfire and gang fights would break out in Brooklyn due to ragamuffins crossing their paths, which I'm going to guess this is just street gangs of the time, just taking part in the holiday festivities, and they're just throwing them on the holiday under the bus with it, basically.
Wow.
Also, yeah, gang fight. Oh, it's those damn ragamuffins out there. Oh, clutch my pearls. The earlier years of the holiday, dressing like a hobo was the costume of choice, but as time went on, stores would actually start selling Thanksgiving Day masks and candies. Some of these store-bought masks would be prominent men and the foremost political leaders of the time, and would have over-exaggerated features in the mask, so oversized nose, smile, ears, making them look cartoony. And unfortunately, also within these times, people of other cultures would get the same treatment in these face masks as well, doing over-the-top stereotypical bullshit that they would for an ethnic background. In later years, it would also be reported that children would also dress up as Disney characters, football players. So there you go. Now you got
Your Halloween costumes.
And also boys would dress in drag as well.
Oh.
The New York Times observed on December 1st, 1899, when reporting on this holiday, there were Faust, Filipinos, Mephistos, Boers, Uncle Sams, John Bulls, Harlequins, bandits, sailors, soldiers in khaki suits. Some masqueraders rode horses, others straddled bicycles. Everyone was generous with pennies and nickels, and the candy stores did a land office business. Some of these candies were spiced jelly candies like gumdrops that nobody ever eats, like the dots, basically.
Oh, yeah, those are disgusting.
Yeah. Opera drops, which are a cream-filled chocolate.
Opera drop?
That's what they're called. I googled opera drops candy, and that's what it came up to be, was a chocolate that's cream-filled.
Huh.
So kind of like those corals you get your dad almost.
Oh.
Or like a Cadbury egg, you can, for example. Crystallized ginger, just literally as it fucking sounds. It's not like an old-timey name for a specific type of candy.
Ugh.
Yeah, you can still buy crystallized ginger today.
Ugh.
And tinted hard candies, so just your regular Brock's grab bag stuff that we used to grow up with.
The shit you find in the bottom of your grandma's purse.
Or, you hard borrowed walking past at the grocery store.
Yeah, hard borrow. I don't know why that's so fucking funny to me. Anyways.
But by the 1900s, Ragamuffin Day was so popular that the children and some adults in New York City clogged the streets so badly that ragamuffin parades would be held instead. But as the ragamuffins marched into the 1920s, they soon would have competition for the streets. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Oh, no.
And one of the sources that I had looked into this said something about that. These ragamuffin parades were an inspiration to that. And then I'm like, no, because I literally took it off their website. It was their employees' own fucking thing. Which could have been
inspired by
this.
Yeah.
But who knows? Parallel thinking, like I've said before in the past, on certain things. By the 1930s, there would be a call in the New York Times to bring an end to the traditions of Ragamuffin Day because of what happened in the 1930s.
Stuff.
The Great Depression.
Yeah. I'm testing you.
Yeah, okay. I literally have it written out over here. How are you
I told you
testing me?
history's not my bag.
I know, but I'm going to change that eventually someday. Trying to slowly. But due to the Great Depression, it was deemed to be in poor taste to beg on the streets for treats, as thousands in New York City were begging to just survive from day to day at this point.
Fair enough.
Not only this, it was the upper class wanting an end to the Ragamuffin Day, because just like now, you go to the wealthier subdivisions because they have the full-size candy bars to give out and so on. So they are going to the higher-end neighborhoods to get all their trinkets and candies from them.
Yeah.
Even though the parade still went on for both Macy's and the Ragamuffins in 1937, one group known as the Madison Square Boys Club would march with signs in the parade, "American Boys Don't Beg," trying to convince children to stop participating in Ragamuffin Day.
Yeah.
By the 1940s and the 1950s, ragamuffin parades would almost essentially vanish from the streets of New York City due to the popularity of the Macy's parade and trick-or-treating now becoming on a rise, because that's when it started to show up and become more popular in the United States during the Great Depression.
Yeah.
because I remember how I brought up that it would be a neighborhood event. You go to one house, you get a costume. The next house, you get this, so on and so forth.
Yep.
But the last recorded Ragamuffin parade would be held in 1956. Or was it the last one?
Or was it? I don't know. Was it?
Ragamuffin parades continued in the outer boroughs of New York City and no longer in Manhattan because of
Macy's.
Yep. And these parades are still being held in the area of New York City in Bay Ridge, and they've been holding this Ragamuffin parade after its restart in 1966. And then they're also held in Park Ridge, New Jersey, and in Hoboken, New Jersey, and other communities in the Westchester County municipalities, Pleasantville, and Briarcliff Manor, where the parade has been going on for about 30 years.
So it's still going on today?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
In September 2016, in Bay Ridge and Brooklyn would rename 3rd Avenue to Ragamuffin Way in honor of the neighborhood's 50-year-old tradition. Also in that same part of Brooklyn would set a record for the parade, hosting about 6,000 children and 35,000 spectators. But there is actually a breed of cat known as a Ragamuffin. It was established in 1994, and it's an offshoot of the Ragdoll.
Ragdolls are so pretty.
And I'm sure it's because of their coloring. It makes them look like they're dirty.
Oh, he's so pretty.
There's that one. There's another one. This is like the main picture. That's like the main picture that comes up for him. So I'm guessing
they look like a ragdoll.
Off-white, and they look a little bit dirty is probably why they got the name. Which is weird that they used that name because this breed was like founded in California. So yes, have you even started thinking about a Christmas episode yet?
No.
Good, because you shouldn't be until after Thanksgiving's done and over with.
I probably won't think about a Christmas episode until a week or two before.
I've already been asked about it.
Oh, well, whoever asked, please stop asking. Because
they asked about what I was going to do for mine. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think that far ahead with it.
Fuck Christmas.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And if anybody that is confused why, go back and listen to our Christmas episode and you'll understand why we say fuck Christmas.
Yeah.
But anyway, everybody, hopefully you have a safe and fun Thanksgiving tomorrow. And
yes,
don't kill your in-laws or whatever if you have those things. Or
yep,
if you need to, go outside, smoke a cigarette or something a little extra. Or
the devil's lettuce.
The devil's lettuce. Or even if you need that extra kick, as I said once before, the devil's dandruff.
Ugh. That's so gross. Anyways, yes, happy Eat Your Weight in Turkey Day.
Yeah, and don't burn your house down either.
Yeah. If you're going to deep fry, do it away from your
And let's make sure it's thought out.
Also, don't wear fucking sandals when you do it.
What?
I've seen so many videos of people wearing sandals when they're putting their turkey in their deep fryer, and they're just getting splashed constantly with fucking oil on their toes.
And then they drop it in there, and then it boils over and it burns their house down.
Like, come on now.
There's literally written instructions for a reason.
Not everybody's that smart.
I guess.
Clearly. Otherwise, there wouldn't be videos surfacing on the internet.
But anyhow, I think it's time we close Emporium up for the day, Sarah. What do you think?
I agree.
Huh. You thought I was going to fuck that up.
You did a little bit.
Yeah. So until next time.
Remember to creep it real.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye.
Happy Thanksgiving once more time.
Okay, bye. Please go and check out our website at macabreemporiumpodcast.com. Join our Facebook group by searching Macabre Emporium. Like and subscribe on YouTube at Macabre Emporium Podcast. Follow us on TikTok at Macabre Emporium Pod. Follow us on Twitter at Macabre Emporium. If you have any stories of the paranormal, your local true crime, or weird history that you would like us to look into and possibly do an episode on, email us at macabreemporiumpod@gmail.com. And remember to follow, rate, review, and share whenever and wherever you can to help us grow our podcast.
But even before we get to the Thanksgiving Day parades, the National Dog Show that's usually on afterwards, or the tradition with your dad that he has now of watching the Detroit Lions lose on Thanksgiving Day,
oh my God,
is... Where the fuck was I going with that? No, because I was going with somewhere with that, and then